everybody, we are officially live. I'm so excited to dive into another pre-symposium panel. A pre-symposium panel is a gathering of leaders that are going to be at the upcoming Executive Symposium on Thursday to discuss their thoughts on the topic. The topic in this case is getting team buy-in to business transformation. So essentially, we're here to talk about what are the pitfalls of business transformation? What are the wins? What are the things we should be thinking about? I think everybody likes the idea and the concept of moving forward, making progression, because if you're not growing, you're dying. But at the same time, there are a lot of bruised knees, scraped shins. There's a lot of face planting that goes on in the change management process, and we are ideally, hopefully, going to avoid some of those pain points. So we've got three great leaders here with us today to discuss their thoughts on getting team buy-in to business transformation. We've got D'Mar, we've got Elizabeth, and we've got SK. D'Mar, do you mind introducing yourself?
Absolutely. So I'm D'Mar Phillips. I'm the Vice President of People and Culture at RS Americas. Glad to be participating in the symposium panel.
Perfect. Elizabeth, how about you?
Yeah, Elizabeth Davis, Chief Growth Officer of For Impact Data. My whole career has been around change management, digital transformation. Really excited to be here and participate in this panel.
Very nice. And SK, how about you?
Hi, everybody. I'm Sushma. I go by SK. I'm a CTO at InspireU, and I also do a lot of fractional CTO positions with startups, especially female-found startups. And nice to meet you all, and I'm glad to be here in this panel.
Very cool. And I'm Garrett Mintz. I'm the founder of Ambition in Motion. At Ambition in Motion, our vision is a world where the vast majority of people are excited to go to work. When they're there, their expectations meet reality, and when they come home, they feel fulfilled. And we believe that starts with leaders, because leaders create the experiences employees have while at work. And so we create technologies and communities to empower leaders to be their best selves to their teams. And one of the ways that we build community is by putting together executive symposiums, where we bring leaders together to discuss a really pressing leadership topic. In this case, it is getting team buy-in to business transformation. So let's dive in. So I think the very first question, I'm just going to broad brush it, broad paint it. Let's talk about getting team buy-in to business transformation. Typically, the starting point is, when do we decide we need to make a change? How do we go about I know this is the way we've always been doing it for however many years or however many months, but we think that there's a more efficient process out there. What is the initial process for identifying that a change probably needs to happen in the first place? Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Yeah, jump in.
I would say the first one is research. Like that's been my first phase, whether it's been attending other executive symposiums like this or other alliances where business is similar to yours or talking about things that they're doing to improve their business. You bring in a new person from an outside business and they're like, hey, I have these ideas. Or even if it's someone on your team, it's like, hey, I think we can do this a better way. It comes to research as the first.
That's good. I think I would add your results. There's nothing that's more telling than where you're currently at within the organization, right? So your profit is low. You're having a lot of turnover with people. You have all the competitors coming into your space that's still in market share. I think you look at your own house to get it cleaned up and in order, and you identify that, whether we are going to be viable over the next 20 plus years or whether we're going to wither on the vine, it comes at the behest of our own results. And so that to me is the first step in identifying that you need to do something differently, is looking at what's happening currently in your own place.
Yeah, just adding on to that, right? Yes, research, and yes, we need to see what kind of ROI are we going to get based off of what we want to do. At the same time, I think as part of the research is we need to see what has been the original vision of the company and where we are with it. And then that leads into the further research where we decide, hey, these are the things that we are missing and how about we do those, right? That's very key, especially in today's world when AI is like taking over every conversation or every actions. Because now when you read on LinkedIn or wherever in the social media, it's or when I go into consulting, the first thing they say is, I want to be AI. But when you dig deep in and ask them, why do you want to be AI? I think right after two whys, when I ask them, they don't have answer after that. Why? And then the third why, they're like, I think, right? The moment we see, I think, that means that is not the right path to go with, right? So, yeah.
I like it. SK, you bring up a very good point. And it does seem to kind of counterbalance a little bit of what like Elizabeth is saying. Because I was gonna say, like, I like the idea of like doing research. I think that makes a ton of sense. But I see a lot of times executives getting those wild hairs where they're like, I just went to the country club and Jeff just said he was implementing X with his team. I think we
Yes,
should be able to do X with our team too. I don't see why not. Let's just like bing bang boom, spick and span. Or, honestly, the biggest guilty party that I see doing this are boards. Boards that are not in the operations of anything, but maybe they're like the child of the deceased founder from like 50 years ago who's still on the board and isn't involved at all in the business, but has a lot of opinions about how the business should be run. And they're like, well, I just, was at this meeting and I just heard that they're doing X. And then you've got the shiny object syndrome, SK, to your point, of, the CEO's like, great, you control my bonus and salary. I'll put on a smile for you. And like, say, we'll think about
yes.
it. But in reality, it's really hard to, that's off. So how do you go about balancing wild hairs from strategic initiatives? Does that question make sense?
Sure. I think you also have to look at your capabilities, though, with your own team, and
Mhm.
you have to truly understand. And I think this is to Elizabeth's point. What your value is? What do you bring that's different into the market space, right? And what is your why? To what SK was saying. Why are you in business? What is your proper value proposition to your customer base, right? And so you could like all these different things, but just because you like a Tesla doesn't mean you can create it when
Yeah.
you're a Ford company, right? You just can't change at a whim because someone had this wild idea. So understanding what your true north is as a business is imperative, as to be able to create that value for your shareholders, your customers, and your employees. And to the original question, I think the other component that I would add is your employees are a great source of information. They can help guide you to the transformational changes that you need to make as a business. You just have to have the courage to listen to them, and then the fortitude to be able to invest in the things in which they help bring to the table.
Yeah. I would I would agree with that. Like it's really important to be like grounded as a leader and deeply connected with the people, like the boots on the ground that are going to actually do the work. To have that communication and have that connection with them and say, hey, I've got this great idea, and then do the back and forth and do like the work in a very humble way.
Yes, and just adding on to that is, when can we say that the company truly needs a certain direction of digital or AI or whatever, is take all the leaders, put them in different rooms, the leaders as in the C-suites, ask them the same question of mission, goal, how they want to achieve. You will notice that they will not have the same answer. As long as they are not giving the same answer, the company is not ready to take that path. Because if you were to ask, let's say, the finance person, their goal would be, I need to, maybe generate revenue by letting go of people. Or a CTO will say, I need to generate something by going faster, or I need more people, right? And then we sit in this budget planning where you don't get those aspects. So
Right.
what I have done during digital transformation of certain companies is I've put these leaders in different places, different rooms, not talking to each other, and I've given them the same question. And when they don't give the same answer, I have walked away from that digital transformation gig, saying that come to consensus, let's talk digital transformation after that, right? So yeah, I'm noted for being very bold in my approaches. I'm always like, oh, Sushma, that is Sushma, right? So but I'm learning over the period of time. But yeah, I think that's usually has worked well in leadership to decide whether we need to take that step.
Right. I would even add to that, though, SK, that even when everyone is saying the same thing, transformation is hard.
Oh, yes.
This is not an easy task for anybody, right?
Yeah.
Um, because change management is hard.
Yes.
And I think your original thesis, Garrett, of transformational buy-in, how do you get buy-in? Well, you have to include people, and most of
Yes.
these projects are so secretive that the people who have to execute it don't find out
Correct.
until it's well down the road. And so, part of this whole change process is the thought process has to change with how people see people as enablers of change and not inhibitors to change.
Yes, absolutely. I agree on that. So in one of our previous organization, what we did is every week we called a leadership meet with the teams, right? Where the leaders would say, this is what I want to do. And the team would say, this is how you can get to it. Or we would keep a box at the corner where they can go and plug in and say, this is how you can achieve. I mean, it was successful up to 40%. I wouldn't say it's 100% successful, right? We have to, when the company is too large, that mechanism probably is not going to work out always. But yeah.
Good.
There's so much, there's so many juicy topics within this. I love this. There's so many angles and directions that go. I mean, D'Mar, I love what you said about like don't keep secrets around change. I think the same applies for like entrepreneurship as well. I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs that are like budding entrepreneurs that are like, oh, I'm keeping my idea secret because someone's gonna steal it. It's like no one's going to uproot their entire life of whatever they're doing with their life to steal your unproven idea because it's an unproven idea. The
Yeah.
real 99% of actual success is not the idea itself, it's the execution of applying it and
Exactly.
doing the
Yeah.
work. And
Yes.
so I think
And
that
look,
logic holds true when it comes to change in an organization as well.
Garrett, I worked at Walmart, and Mr. Sam, God bless his soul, stole shamelessly from competition. He wrote a book about it, Made in America, right? To steal shamelessly from the competition. And it wasn't that you get the idea first, right? iPhone came out and Samsung has a better version, right? I'm just saying you perfect what you see, and it's the execution, right? So it wasn't, Walmart started in 1962. They were not the Sears Roebuck was 100 times bigger than Walmart. Where's Sears today, right? And not trying to diminish any business, but it's you get the idea and then you hone your craft and you perfect it. And so being fearful of change and recognizing that some type of change has to occur, or hey, let me have a brain trust. Your whole AIM business model is bringing like minds together to be able to talk. They're from different parts of the business, but it's to talk about common themes because we all experience change differently, right?
Yeah.
No one experiences change the same. So I think this whole thought process of fear of what if you steal the idea? Well, great. If you got to it first, or if I got to it first and you made it better, applause, right? I can learn from you. And it's that collective part that we're missing in business today, actually in the world.
And I think that's the thing too. A lot of the reason some leadership teams will keep the change secret is because they're afraid of being out front, they're afraid of being wrong. And again, like one of the things that I've found with some of the best leaders I've worked with and I've implemented in my leadership is just to go in with a hypothesis, be open and say like, hey, this is my hypothesis. This is the why behind it. Good communication, right? Like this is why we're working on this change. This is how I think we're going to do it. We're going to work on this together. We're going to connect. I'm working with you because we're building this out. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, we might have a change in hypothesis. Like there's best practices that we're stealing from other people. Like we're not writing the playbook brand new. There's other people who've done change before. But as we go, we're going to constantly communicate. We're going to get the feedback loops in place. We might have to do a shift. I was like, we're in this together. And I think that's part of how you get the buy-in is like being humble and honest, like not the fear factor and saying like, I think this is the direction we need to go. We're going to start down this path as a group for this reason. it's going to help you in this way. It's going to help our company in this way. If we go 30 days from now and we're like, oh, we need to make a shift, that's what we're going to do. If it's a week from now and we're like, we're a little off, like it's like not being afraid as a leader to be wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and
Fail
that's just
fast,
AI.
make adjustments, and keep moving forward.
Absolutely. And I think with SK's AI, right, that whole thesis around AI, it's, AI is here, it's not going anywhere, right? So the companies that embrace it get there faster than the companies that don't. And
Mhm.
it's not to replace jobs, it's to make processes more efficient and more effective. Simplification of information is,
Yes.
is how I see it, right? So how we get to that sooner, faster, quicker, better is ultimately going to make us the transformational organization in the future
Yeah.
because we've embraced technology, and technology is here to stay. No one's going to say, well, we need to go back to widgets. Well,
Yep.
I mean, look, heck, we got technology in this call, recording it, and it's going to give you a transcript a little bit later to send out to folks, right?
Yeah.
So embrace change.
So just on the AI side, I want to add is what I always write when I'm writing blogs or whatever is AI for efficiency and not elimination, right? It's all about how can I make my life efficient. Like when I'm mentoring the tech or the non-tech ones from the marketing side, they ask, oh, there are these tools, is that going to take my job? So my answer to them is no. If you embrace it, probably you can do 3 jobs, probably you can make your income triple. We I mean, that's the positive way of seeing and embracing it and making it better for ourselves versus just being afraid of, oh my god, now AI is going to take my job. AI is not going to take your job, but your complacency to adopt into AI is what's going to take your job.
Right.
These are a lot of really good points here, but I want to go back to a concept of capability of the teams versus opportunity. And, what's interesting is we're talking about this concept of hypotheses and experimentation and running that. And I think about this all the time, and I chuckle to myself. We always know the adage like, "Oh, it took Thomas Edison 1,000 tries to discover the light bulb." And I think to myself, well, thank God he was the CEO of his own company, because how many tries do we give to our team to experiment? I would surely gander. We wouldn't give anybody 1,000 tries to experiment on anything. We had cut bait well before we actually got to the point of discovering the light bulb. And so the question I have is, do you feel like companies are allocating enough resources for change to actually be successful? I feel like there's a lot of assumptions that go on when it comes to a change. We're like, we'll put
No.
Johnny and the tech team on it. They'll create an app with some AI and they'll make it happen. This other company did it in a year. They could probably do it in 8 months. I mean, we're learning things. We'll be faster. It should happen, right? Like, I'm not a tech person, but I can certainly formulate assumptions about how long I think it should take. I don't know. So the question is that are companies allocating enough resources for change to actually be effective? I know, Beth,
No,
you're chuckling at that.
no. I mean, the short answer is no, they're not. And but I can't say all companies aren't, right? Because there are some that invest in technology, R&D, all that stuff, and it's fail fast, fail quick, learn from your mistakes, and get back in the game. But ultimately, no. Why is that? Because the bottom line profit is what drives business. Whatever your dividends are, whatever your shareholder value is, that is what rules the day. And guess what? In times of economic downturn, the first groups that you start cutting are those that are focused on processes that you eliminate. And so, change management, uh, HR, finance, the support functions. You don't cut the ones that are bringing in the revenue because that is specific to the P&L. You cut the support functions, and part of change management resides in those support function areas, right? And so those are the first ones I identified to eliminate in the what if scenarios.
Mhm.
But for the entrepreneur, right? And I think it's a very different for entrepreneur versus basic business. And I'm not trying to diminish either one of them. The entrepreneur's mindset is, I have an idea. and I'm going to go to heaven and hell to make this idea come to life, right? And so that's a very different psyche. It is, okay, this didn't work, roll up the paper, throw it away, I'm going to do something else, right? It's a mindset. And I think if we're able to help regular basic business to shift the mindset, then changing fast and failing fast, where you remove the fear of performance from those people who are doing that R&D type work, and you make it a level playing field, then you would invest in that. But short answer to your question is no. Like, organizations are not ultimately investing enough in change, in my opinion.
Elizabeth,
True.
yeah, what do you think?
Well,
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I would say, Garrett, you were with me on a project that I worked on, a big go-to-market change I worked on a couple of years ago, where I accepted the project and then all my resources were cut.
Oh my God.
We lived that together. We still got it done and it was great. But I do think that's the experience that I'm living now, working with doing change management in CPA firms. They're changing the way that they go to market. And a lot of times it's just not as well funded as you'd want it to be. So people just get scrappy. You do the best you can, you push up your sleeves, you wear multiple hats. And it works, but hopefully you don't experience burnout of your best and brightest in the process. So again, and like as a leader, it's really important to man, especially with your high achievers, sometimes you have to like set boundaries for them and be like, oh, we're going to take this 3-day weekend. And as a team, we're taking a 4-day weekend, everybody. Shut it down for you, for me. I mean, like, that's like one of the things you have to do is you have to, when you're going through something and you don't have the support that you need and you have the buy-in from the team and people are just like being very entrepreneurial, sometimes you have to help support and making sure you don't burn out.
Yeah, I agree. This is a very, very passionate topic for me. So I'm trying to be quiet for this question. But the short answer is no, they don't. They don't. There's a big ambition. I want to go after something because everybody is going after it, but we don't think through what do we need to. Like I was on this project where we didn't have much budget, but we had to go out of monolith to drive more microservice. Yes, that is needed. And we ended up getting 6 million. Then by end of the year we were at 9 million, and then by mid of the year we are at 14 million. And now the leaders are saying, whom do we let go, right? Because we reached 14 million, that was not in budget, let us release people. And going back to what D'Mar said is, we let go of the program managers, we let go of the team that was managing programs, and we expected engineers to manage it. It's not possible. You can't give wings to a fish and ask it to fly like a bird, or cut the wings of a bird and ask it to swim. It's not going to happen. And I don't know, everybody knows that, but I don't know why we still do that. And now with my own company, sometimes I forget what I preach and I end up doing the same, and suddenly I'm like, oh no, I can't do this, right? I think it's the urgency of hitting the market and making a name, making a vision, kind of overtakes some of our common senses, is what I would like to say, because I'm doing some of it now and I revoke back. But yeah.
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 This is, oh yeah, go ahead, D'Mar.
Well, no, that just rings what I was saying earlier. Everyone's so focused on that bottom dollar, right? That profitability margin, and start making decisions well before you even see the end of the year. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm seeing this trend, I need to cut now, and then you end up cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Yeah.
And those same cuts that you make, the talent that you let go typically isn't the low end of the totem pole, because one, you probably already got rid of them.
Yes.
So you're cutting into the tissue, getting to the bone of your organization. And the part that's really missed is the attack on the morale of the people who are left. if you are in a reduction in force, there is survivor's guilt that takes hold. The engagement levels, the morale, the fear factor, if they let that person go, they could let me go. And then you have people who normally wouldn't be looking for jobs go out exploring the market. And guess what? They're the cream of the crop. So they can command a hefty price to leave, which we can't compete with by just saying, oh, I'll match you, don't leave. No, you've already damaged all of that. And so there's a residual effect that happens because we make short term decisions when this is a long term game. Most people don't invest in a stock to get rich overnight. They know it's a 5, 10, 15 investment. So why do we treat our people that way?
I like that. That's a good way of putting it. So I guess, I think there's a lot of CEOs who are watching this and that follow our content and their sort of stuff. And they're thinking to themselves like, okay, I'm not intentionally trying to slash the budget. I'm not intentionally trying to allocate it. But when I bring it up to our team and I say, hey, this is how much we've got to deploy towards this. Do you think that's enough? Everyone seems to be like,
You
yeah,
hit the
everyone's
button
real
here.
sheepish. Everyone's like, I mean, we could use maybe a little bit of money over here. I'm like, could we tell me a little bit more about how we could use? Oh, we probably don't need it. He said we don't need it. Okay, so we don't need it. So let's
You're hitting a hot button with me, Garrett. So stop it, okay? I will tell you this:
yeah,
it's not profits over people; it's people over profits.
yeah, that's
Your
right.
team is the only asset that will appreciate in value over time. The only one. You can take it to the bank. And when you have that CEO, Mr. CEO, that's making those decisions, it is typically to hit some unrealistic expectation that they communicated to a board or to the company, and then we're covering their ass. And you're doing it at the expense of people. And so I don't have respect for that. That doesn't mean that some cuts are not required, because I get it. You're in a business to stay afloat, to protect everybody. But you should be very surgical in the process, and you can't throw away the strategy, which isn't a 1 year strategy. I don't know who writes a 1 year strategy plan. All the ones I've seen have been 3, 5, 10, right? And so if you're cutting all these people in year one, guess what? Year three is not going to happen. So be smarter about it. So that's the challenge back to the CEOs is talk to your damn HR people. Like talk to people who understand vision and outlook and not make these short-term decisions that impact long-term success. Sorry about that. That was a hot button. I'll calm down.
You're good. You're all good. This is great.
That's a really hard button. So I'm not going to even start on that. I think I mean, again, benefit of the doubt for the CEOs or whatever, right? Is probably they have something they have to achieve in a given year. I don't know what that is. I'm still trying to research on that. Is a CEO comes in this year to this company, they make these decisions, they take their pay and go to another company, right? And the next CEO comes in and says, this is the decision, right? So I don't know where that long term commitment, do we not take a long term commitment from these CEOs that are joining, saying, 10 years, you stay with us and make us grow, right? Because what I see is they come in, they make this decision, oh, everything has to be in house this time. Okay, we start bringing everything in house. Then the next CEO comes, oh, no, we should go outsource it to Infosys. Let's do that, right? So I don't know who decides on how long a CEO stays in a company, probably, I think that's the root cause. We have to hold these CEOs or whoever the main person driving these results accountable for their decisions, right? Yeah, I'll stop now.
So I've been on the flip side as well. I've sat through where we have a CEO change every couple of years and like the direction shifts, but I've also been in a seat where the CEO has been in place for maybe too long. Hot take, not
Yeah, where does that
and I've
balance
been pretty
strike?
yeah, I mean it's like okay, like you've grown us for a certain amount. We were 10 million, now we're 100 million. We're looking to get 250 million. Like a CEO who sat at, 10 million, 15 million for 10 years, the right CEO to lead has transformed hugely and now is sitting at, 100 plus million. So sometimes on the other side, it makes sense to make a change there,
Yeah,
to go to the next level.
yeah,
But
I've seen that
uh,
too.
I feel like we've shifted topics here, guys.
We
Well,
have a
they're
little
all
bit, but
related because here's the thing. If we're getting the team buy-in to business transformation, the transformation stems
Hmm.
from a place. That place is ideally coming from a place of earnest research where we've identified, okay, there is a clear vision that we're all in alignment on, and we have lost margin, or there's something that's happened that's we can tell and see from data that our business is falling behind our competitors. So we know something needs to change, and know everyone's in
Yeah,
agreement that something needs to happen. And then how that decision is made, what direction we go, and how we go about pushing forward, that is the next step. But sometimes we get to a point where, you bring in a new CEO, and to your point, D'Mar, covering our butt from unrealistic expectations. An old CEO was let go, and now we've got a new one that comes in and promises the world, says, "Lord, we'll get this, that, and this done. We're gonna move mountains. We're gonna change all these things. Everything's gonna be done in 1 year from now. We're gonna all be sitting on the beach drinking pina coladas and cheersing to ourselves." And you get to the end of that year, and the mountains weren't moved, maybe all as far as they thought they would, and maybe they moved a little bit, but the board's like, "What happened to the pina coladas on the beach? We're not even like doing any of that stuff. It's not gotten here." And so you then also have the employees, the team part, who, if this was like the second or third or fourth CEO or leadership change, is this the boy who cried wolf? They're like, okay, we change, then we flip flop back, then we flip flop back, and this change is hard and it's taxing. Like, I don't want to run out to the field to save some guy from a wolf that doesn't even exist anymore because the new CEO told us to head back home.
well, Garrett, I think the problem is that sometimes we treat our CEOs like the coach, right? The football coach that we had a good coach. He won 2 championships in a row. Then I'm not talking about Jerry Jones, but I am. Then he's gone, and then you go through a desert for 100 years because you had a great thing, but you let the guy go. Or the Bill Belichick now, who has won 100 championships over time, and then a few years of it being bad, and then now it's time to let go. I think those things are not diametrically opposed. The problem that we have is that we forget about people, and you have to assess your team. I've been in startup organizations where the team that got you there is not the team that gets you to where you're going,
yeah,
right? But they were the right team at the time to be able to set up foundational things. And then you need the transformational team to come in to get you to that next level. Why? Because they think differently. It's a thought process and it's an execution process, right? And you have to have the right leader at the top to be able to make sure all the people below are in the right seats. And so, that's kind of how I see it and how I've experienced it in some of the jobs that I've had, some of the over my career. But transformation, again, it's not easy, and the mindset shift that has to occur has to include people.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say, like, if you've had a bunch of changes in leadership, whether it's a CEO or chief marketing officer, chief revenue officer, chief people officer, and they're doing shifts, like, you have to build trust.
Right.
Like, trust that, like, okay, we've seen this every 2 years, your people, your foundation that are there, they're like, all right, new king, new theory, right? So it's like, okay, how do you lean in and connect with the people who are in the seats and
Yep.
build that trust, listen, build the feedback loops so that you can even get the buy-in for change. Because if you've had that repetition and that exhaustion that happens in your base, it can be hard to say, okay, we got a new direction, we had to make this change, and they're like, sure, sure, we've heard this story before. So you have to go above and beyond to really connect with the people in the seats to make sure that you're getting them to buy in, and they're just not rolling their eyes and going about their business as usual.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they'll wait it out.
Just
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just adding on to that, right? It would be nice when the new leaders come in, they could start off where the previous one has left. So that you're taking the people, you're going where the people are, and then you're taking them along with you, rather than just saying maybe, it's the whatever the new leader comes with a plan could be the best one, but as D'Mar said, you need people to walk with you. So go where the people are, see till where the previous leader has done. Don't rewrite it. Start from there and slowly take it to the next level. It's just the iterative process is what we call in the agile world, but we never apply that in a leadership world. We are always coming and
Yeah.
just doing a project management world, right? Or not, sorry, the waterfall model. I came in, I destructed, and then for the next 1 year, rather than iteratively inspect and adapt, right? So,
Yeah.
I
I
like
think
And not to
that.
disagree, maybe that's a little do no harm, right? You
yeah,
go in and you give yourself time to just
yeah,
assess
yes,
yeah.
what's
Lean in and
happening.
yeah,
yeah.
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 Yeah, I like that. I'm just writing down a note. But no, this is really, really, I think, good points. Assess the situation before change, but then also the board, I think, needs to be aware of the whole scenario. Like, don't play blind to it and say, "Oh, this CEO promised us all these riches and all these things, and all these things would change from him or her coming into this new position." It's like that doesn't always work. And I think we need to over-index our budget and our support of this person, because if we are not conscientious of that, we will really deteriorate our trust and our people and all these sorts of things. So the more change happens, the more trust gets tarnished. And so even one shift, to D'Mar's point, you get survivor guilt. You get people who are there like, am I next? Why am I still here? What is my point? Like, why am I capped? And if we are not conscientious of that, and we're not supportive of this new regime change that's come in, and we're constantly filing people in and out, there is no trust. There is no loyalty. The only trust you've got is in your salary, and that's it. All the people can go to the bank on is literally what they put in the bank from this role, which is a highly inefficient way of operating, because you're paying people way above market value for the roles, because there is no trust. It's all been tarnished and gone.
Well, I will do a plug for our current board at the company I'm at, where the chairperson came in, chairperson of the board flew in, met with all the leaders, had engaging conversations with us, and I get calls from the board asking for feedback because they want to speak to lower level employees just to spend time with them. Like, I've never been in another company where that was the case. It's like, hey, I can speak to you anytime because I have access to you. I want to hear what's happening to your people. I want to cross function within the organization, not managers, but the frontline employees who are actually doing the work. I want to listen to them. 90 minutes of a board member's time is not cheap. And they do it because they have care for the employees and want to understand what's happening, right? So it can work extremely well. And then you can have the other side where all they want to do is make sure they get those quarterly checks cut. You don't see them. All you do is process the payments. And I've had that happen too, right? So it is a dichotomy between good and bad that we have to watch out for.
Well, D'Mar, Elizabeth, SK, this has been a great pre-symposium panel. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground in this meeting today. If you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, I want to meet these three great leaders, come to our Executive Symposium on Thursday. I'll post the link in the comments of this video for how to RSVP. But everybody, thank you for your time. Have a wonderful rest of your